Two corrupt cops framed DEA agent Monica Trenton, planting drugs in her car and laughing as they locked her up. But when her badge was revealed, their world turned upside down. "You won't believe what happened next." They pulled her over, slipped drugs into her car, and chuckled as they cuffed her. What they didn't know? She was a DEA agent, and their whole world was about to come crashing down. The late afternoon sun bled orange across the horizon, stretching long shadows over a quiet two-lane highway slicing through rural Georgia. Monica Trenton tapped her fingers on the wheel of her sleek black Dodge Charger, her eyes darting between the road ahead and the rearview mirror. It had been a grueling day in court, testifying as a key witness in a federal drug trafficking case. All she wanted was to get home, kick off her boots, and leave the day behind. But something felt off. For the last 3 miles, a black and white patrol car had been tailing her. No sirens, no flashing lights, just a silent presence, stalking her every move. She held steady at 55 miles per hour, right at the speed limit posted every few hundred yards. She let out a slow breath. She knew this game all too well. As a DEA agent for years, Monica had seen her share of small-town cops with egos bigger than their badges, and no one to keep them in check. Some got a thrill out of hassling outsiders, flexing their power over anyone who looked like they wouldn't push back. But Monica, she wasn't that kind of target. Sure enough, like clockwork, red and blue lights flared behind her. "Here we go." She flicked on her blinker, eased onto the gravel shoulder and cut the engine. Her hands stayed planted on the steering wheel. Textbook protocol. She'd trained rookies on how to handle stops like this. Keep cool, stay sharp, don't give 'em an inch. 2 officers sauntered up, one on each side of her car. The first was tall and wiry, sunglasses perched low on his nose like he thought he was in a movie. The other was heavier, mid-40s, his gut straining against the beige fabric of his uniform. Their badges caught the fading sunlight. The tall one, Officer Ryan Whitmore, rapped on her window. She lowered it, slow and deliberate. "Evening, ma'am," Whitmore said, his voice flat as asphalt. "License and registration." Monica pulled the documents from her center console and handed them over. Whitmore gave them a quick glance, barely, before speaking again. "You in a rush?" "Blew right through a stop sign back there." Monica's face stayed stone cold. There hadn't been a stop sign, not even a yield sign. Whitmore's lips curled, just a hint of a smirk. "Step out of the vehicle." And there it was. The escalation. Monica kept her body relaxed, her expression blank. "What's the reason for that?" "We'll talk about it outside." Another slow exhale. She unbuckled her seatbelt, stepped out carefully, and shut the door behind her. Gravel crunched under her boots. The second officer, Cole Barrett, circled around from the rear, his hands resting on his belt like he was itching for a reason to use it. "Turn around," Barrett said. Monica tilted her head. "Come again?" "Turn around. Hands behind your back." Whitmore stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You've got drugs in that car, don't you?" Monica almost laughed at the sheer absurdity. "You serious?" Neither cracked a smile. "I'm a federal agent," she said, her tone steady as steel. "My badge is in my—" Barrett grabbed her wrist, hard. She jerked it free in one smooth motion. "That's assault on a federal officer." Whitmore's smirk vanished. "Ma'am, I don't care who you claim to be, we've got probable cause. You match a description." A description. Monica locked eyes with him. She knew exactly what that meant. Vague, convenient, and impossible to disprove. Whitmore turned to his radio. "Central, we've got a suspicious vehicle, possible narcotics transport. Send a K-9 unit." This wasn't a random stop. They were building a trap, and she was the target. Barrett's hand hovered near his taser. "We won't ask again." Monica's pulse stayed even, but her jaw clenched tight. She could drop them both right there. Years of hand-to-hand combat training made that a fact. But brains beat brawn in moments like this. She had to play their game, at least for now. Slowly she turned, hands behind her back. The cuffs snapped on, cold metal biting her wrists as Barrett locked them tight. They shoved her toward their patrol car, her badge, still in Whitmore's grip, hadn't even been glanced at. Whitmore leaned in close, his voice dripping with mockery. "Welcome to Wilkins County, darlin'." Oh, he had no idea who he'd just messed with. The back seat of the patrol car smelled like stale coffee and arrogance. Monica sat, cuffed, legs cramped, watching two corrupt cops congratulate themselves like they'd just bagged Pablo Escobar. Outside, Whitmore popped the trunk of her Charger and let out a low whistle before flashing Barrett a crooked grin. "Well, well, look at this." Barrett strolled over, playing along like he hadn't already known what was coming. "That's a damn shame." Monica didn't need to see it to know what was up. Planted drugs, probably meth or fentanyl, something heavy enough to stick in court and ruin a life. Whitmore held up a vacuum-sealed brick, waving it like a trophy. "Got anything to say about that federal agent nonsense?" Barrett shook his head, grinning. "Ain't that rich? We've got ourselves a trafficker." Monica's hands balled into fists behind her back. This wasn't a one-off screw-up. It was their playbook. Target someone, plant the evidence, let the system chew them up. She took a deep, steady breath. She'd been in worse spots than this. Whitmore swaggered back to the car, leaning on the window frame as he peered inside. "Yeah, you had a badge all right, but I ain't ever heard of a DEA agent hauling kilos through my county. You?" Barrett laughed, loud and smug. "Thought a fake ID was going to get her out of this." Monica's voice was low, cutting. "Read the badge, genius." Whitmore's grin didn't budge. "Oh, I saw it. Real or not, doesn't matter one bit. Want to know why? In 24 hours, that big-shot DEA title's going to be worth less than dirt." She tilted her head, studying him like a bug under glass. "That's so." "You bet," Whitmore said. "Once we book you, once your mugshot splashed across every local news channel, no one's going to give a damn who you say you are. You're just another crook. And in this town, darlin', you don't come out on top." A fire sparked in Monica's gut. Not fear, but pure, cold rage. They really thought they could bury her, that no one would come looking, that she was just another nobody they could steamroll. She let a small, sharp smile creep across her face, just enough to make Whitmore pause. "What's so funny?" he snapped, irritation creeping in. Her voice was calm, deliberate. "I think you're a moron." Whitmore's smirk flickered, a tiny crack in his armor. Barrett yanked the door open. "That's enough! Get her out!" The cuffs dug into her wrists as they hauled her from the car. The lot outside the Wilkins County Sheriff's Station was nearly deserted, just a couple of patrol cars baking in the heat. The building itself was squat and grim, the kind of place where people, paperwork, and entire lives could vanish without a trace. Whitmore shoved her forward. "Inside." The air hit her like a wall, stale, reeking of burnt coffee and cheap aftershave. A grizzled sergeant sat at the front desk, barely looking up as they marched in. "What's this?" he muttered. "Trafficker," Barrett said, tossing Monica's badge onto the counter. "Fake DEA credentials." The sergeant picked it up, gave it a quick once-over. "Huh. Booker," Whitmore said. The sergeant sighed, already bored. "Sticker and holding." Whitmore grabbed Monica's elbow, steering her down a hallway lined with cells. The walls were bare concrete, cold and unforgiving. He leaned in close. "This is where you start regretting whatever you did to end up here." She didn't flinch. "I'm not the one who's going to regret this." Whitmore chuckled. "We'll see about that." The cell door slammed shut with a heavy clang. Monica settled onto the metal bench, rolling her shoulders to ease the ache. Getting out wasn't her worry, that was a done deal. What she was planning was how to make these two pay. But first, she'd let them dig their hole a little deeper. Monica sat on the icy bench, back straight, face unreadable. The concrete walls around her were grimy, stained by years of neglect, the air thick with the stench of sweat and bad choices. She'd been in dives like this before, but always on the right side of the bars. Across the cell, a young black guy, maybe in his mid-20s, slumped against the wall, knees pulled up. He sized her up warily. "You new here?" She gave a half-smile. "Kinda." He nodded, rubbing a fresh bruise on his cheek. "Let me guess. Whitmore and Barrett?" She didn't answer. Didn't need to. He let out a bitter chuckle. "Yeah, they nabbed me too." Monica tilted her head. What'd they get you for? He blew out a breath, shaking his head. Take your pick, said my taillight was busted, pulled me over, then, boom, suddenly I've got too much cash on me. I work at a warehouse, been saving up for months. His laugh was hollow, empty. Funny thing? By the time we got here, that cash was gone. Monica's jaw tightened. So this was their routine. Whitmore and Barrett weren't just dirty. They were hunters, picking off anyone they thought couldn't fight back. She leaned forward slightly. How long you been locked up? 3 days, he mumbled. No phone call, no lawyer. My mom doesn't even know where I am. Her pulse ticked up. 3 days. Long enough for someone to disappear into the system's cracks. She'd waited long enough. Standing, she stretched her shoulders, shaking off the tension. The cuffs were off. Small win. But she was still caged, and that wasn't going to cut it. She stepped to the bars, glancing at the front desk. A lone deputy sat there, flipping through papers, barely paying attention. Then came the heavy, familiar thud of boots. Whitmore and Barrett, swaggering back. The guy in her cell tensed. Here we go again. Whitmore stopped in front of the bars, grinning like he'd already won the lottery. He tapped the metal with his knuckles, 90. How's it feel, darlin'? Monica met his gaze, cool as ice. Like a bad punchline. Barrett snorted. Oh, it's real, all right. Real enough to keep you locked up for a long damn time. Monica cocked her head. You sure about that? Whitmore folded his arms. Look, I get it. You thought waving that badge around was going to scare us. But this ain't Atlanta. Out here we call the shots. No feds, no hotshot lawyers, no cavalry. Just us. Monica took a slow step closer, her voice steady. Is that right? Damn straight, Whitmore said. She let out a breath, shaking her head. I'm giving you one last chance. Walk back here, open this door, and act like this never happened. Whitmore burst out laughing, a harsh, mocking sound. Barrett joined in, shaking his head. You've got some nerve, Whitmore said. Monica's smile turned sharp. I've got jurisdiction. And then, from outside the station, the screech of tires ripped through the quiet. Whitmore's radio crackled to life. Sheriff, we've got federal agents at the front door. They're asking for a Monica Trenton. Whitmore's grin vanished like smoke. Monica edged closer to the bars, tilting her head. What was that you were saying? Barrett fumbled for his radio. Who the hell called the feds? Monica's smile widened, all teeth. Didn't have to. Whitmore whirled on her, his face twisting with rage. You! Before he could finish, the station's front door slammed open. Heavy boots pounded the floor, confident, relentless. Then a voice cut through the air. Where the hell is my agent? Whitmore and Barrett froze like deer in headlights. Monica just smiled. Game over. The cell door screeched open, the sound echoing off the concrete. Monica stepped out, stretching her stiff shoulders as a tall black man in a sharp suit stood waiting. Deputy Director Raymond Holt wasn't the type to leave his corner office unless it was personal. He sized her up, then turned to Whitmore and Barrett, his face a mask of stone. Names, now. Neither officer budged. Holt's eyes narrowed. I said names. Move it. Barrett stammered. Sir, she was detained with... You planted it, Holt snapped, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. Whitmore's mouth opened, then snapped shut. For the first time all day, he looked rattled. The power had flipped. A U.S. Marshal stepped forward, badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. We're taking her to court. Interfere and I'll slap you with charges myself. Barrett's face went red. Charges? What the hell's that supposed to mean? Holt crossed his arms. Let me spell it out. You detained a federal agent without cause, planted evidence, and trampled her constitutional rights. You two clowns are looking at serious time before the sun sets. Whitmore's jaw clenched. This is a mistake. Holt smirked, cold and cutting. Oh, it's a mistake, all right. Yours, thinking you'd skate on this. With a soft click, Monica's cuffs hit the floor. She rubbed her wrists, giving Whitmore a long, deliberate stare before brushing past him without a word. But she wasn't done with them. Not by a long shot. Monica sat at the defense table, calm and collected, waiting for the show to start. The courtroom smelled like old wood and cheap coffee. The kind of place where guys like Whitmore and Barrett thought they were kings. Across the room, the two officers sat with their lawyer, some local public defender who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The judge, an older man with silver hair and a no-nonsense glare, cleared his throat. "Let's get started." The prosecutor stood, smoothing his tie. "Your Honor, the state charges Ms. Trenton with drug trafficking, possession with intent to distribute, and resisting arrest." Monica didn't blink. She wanted them to feel safe, to think they still had the upper hand for just a moment longer. The judge turned to her. "Ms. Trenton, do you have counsel?" She leaned forward. "Won't need it, Your Honor." A ripple of whispers ran through the room. The prosecutor frowned. The judge nodded. "All right. How do you plead?" Monica smiled, slow and sharp. "Before I answer, Your Honor, I've got something for the court." She pulled a laminated ID from a folder, stood and handed it to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. The judge studied it, his eyebrows lifting. The prosecutor leaned forward, confused. "What's that?" The judge set the badge down with a sigh, his eyes locking onto Whitmore and Barrett. "This is a federal badge. Miss Trenton is a DEA special agent." The room went dead silent. Whitmore and Barrett turned ghost white. Monica's voice was low, steady. "That's right, Your Honor. And if the state wants to keep pushing charges against a federal agent framed by two dirty cops, I'm happy to play ball." The prosecutor's face twisted. "Your Honor, The judge raised a hand, cutting him off. He turned to the officers. "You two got anything to say for yourselves?" Whitmore shifted in his seat. "Your Honor, we had probable cause." Monica let out a short, biting laugh. "Probable cause? You had nothing. You pulled me over thinking you could get away with it." The judge's expression darkened. He looked at the prosecutor. "I'm assuming you're dropping all charges." The prosecutor, looking like he'd swallowed a lemon, nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." "Good." The judge turned to Monica. "Agent Trenton, you're free to go." But Monica didn't sit. She faced Whitmore and Barrett, her voice cold. "Now let's talk about what happens to corrupt cops who frame innocent people." They weren't slipping away this time. Whitmore and Barrett sat stiff as boards, clutching the table like it was a lifeline. Their faces were pale, their cocky grins long gone, replaced by the kind of fear Monica had seen in dozens of busts. The judge adjusted his glasses and stared them down. "Officers, this court doesn't take kindly to corruption." His voice was steady, the kind that made guilty men sweat. Monica stepped forward, arms crossed, pinning them with her gaze. She had them dead to rights. "Let's break it down. Whitmore, you start." His jaw twitched, but he stayed silent. "You stopped me for a stop sign that doesn't exist, said I matched a description, then you planted drugs in my trunk, thinking no one would come looking because you booked me under a fake name." She tilted her head. "Am I missing anything?" The room was still. Barrett opened his mouth, but Monica cut him off. "Oh, wait! There's more!" She grabbed a file from the prosecutor's table. "You're not just crooked, you're sloppy." She held up a bank statement. "The FBI ran a rush check on your accounts the second I called it in, and guess what? Those accounts are singing. Big deposits, way too big for a small-town cop's paycheck. Thousands of dollars rolling in like clockwork, all from a front company tied to drug trafficking." The prosecutor snatched the papers, his eyes widening as he scanned them. Monica turned back to the officers. "You didn't just frame people, you got paid for it." The courtroom exploded in murmurs. The judge banged his gavel. "Order! Order!" Whitmore shot to his feet. "This is insane. There's no proof." Monica raised an eyebrow. "No proof? That's cute. My department's got wire transfers, call logs, even a video of Barrett cozying up with dealers." Barrett went pale as death. "That's a lie." Monica glanced at the door and nodded. It swung open. A federal marshal stepped in, followed by two suits. The lead, Special Investigator Troy Dawson, held up a sealed warrant. "Your Honor, we've got arrest warrants for Officers Ryan, Whitmore, and Cole Barrett. Conspiracy, evidence tampering, and multiple civil rights violations." Whitmore stumbled back, stammering. You set us up." Monica laughed, sharp and cold. "No, you did that all by yourselves." Barrett leapt up. "You can't do this." The marshal stepped forward, cuffs gleaming. "Oh, we can!" Whitmore bolted for the door, but two deputies grabbed him, slamming him against the table and cuffing him right there. Barrett stood frozen, staring at Monica, hands shaking. The marshal yanked his arms back. "Cole Barrett, you're under arrest!" As the two disgraced cops were dragged out, Monica let out a slow breath. Justice was a marathon, not a sprint. But today, she'd crossed the finish line. One last thing to do. The courtroom cleared fast after the fireworks. The prosecutor sat slumped, rubbing his forehead, probably wondering how his case imploded so spectacularly. The judge was already gone. Now it was just Monica, Deputy Director Holt, and a few feds. Holt turned to her, arms crossed. "You holding up?" She nodded. "Yeah." Her shoulders were tight, hands clenched. "But not today," she said. "Today they're the ones who lost." He gave a small nod, started to walk away, but paused at the door. "Thanks," he muttered. Monica watched him head down the hall. He shouldn't have to thank her. She shouldn't have been in this mess at all. Holt put a hand on her shoulder. "Let's roll." But before they could leave, the prosecutor called out, "Agent Trenton?" She turned. He stood there, still pale, hesitating. Then he sighed. "You're lucky we figured out who you were before trial, otherwise—" Monica arched an eyebrow. "Lucky?" "I'm not the lucky one here." He blinked, caught off guard. She stepped closer, her voice like ice. "You didn't ask a single question when they brought me in. Took their word, filed charges, left me to rot. How many others have you done that to?" He stiffened. I didn't. Don't need your answer." She held his gaze, then turned away, not waiting for excuses. Holt walked beside her toward the exit. The Georgia sunset painted the sky in streaks of orange and purple. Pine-scented air hit her lungs, and she breathed deep. Holt glanced at her. "Ready to get out of here?" She smiled, just a little. "Yeah, because this wasn't just a win, it was a warning shot. And Whitmore and Barrett? They weren't the only ones who needed to hear it." She stepped out of the courthouse, the last light fading through the trees. The air felt cleaner out here. Freedom had a smell, and Monica would never take it for granted. Holt walked beside her, hands in his pockets, his face less tense now. "They'll be in federal lockup by morning," he said. "DA's office is tripping over itself to disown this mess." Monica smirked. "Good, because this isn't just about two bad cops. It's about the system that let them run loose." Holt sighed. "You know this won't be the last time, right?" She nodded. "I know, but today, we took out two." A few yards away, a small crowd lingered on the courthouse steps. Locals, maybe people Whitmore and Barrett had preyed on, folks who never thought they'd see those badges fall. Among them was the warehouse worker, standing off to the side, hands in his pockets. When their eyes met, he gave a slight nod. Respect, gratitude, maybe a spark of hope. That was enough. Monica slid into Holt's black SUV and he shot her a look. "So, what's next?" She settled into the seat, rubbing her wrists where the cuffs had bitten. Same as always. Holt laughed as he turned the key. "Which is?" She leaned back, the courthouse shrinking in the rearview mirror. "Making sure guys like Whitmore and Barrett think twice before they pull this crap again. Some folks think power's a bulletproof vest, that a badge, connections, or the system will shield them from the fallout. But justice? It's patient. It always finds a way. Whitmore and Barrett weren't special, just two more names on a long list of people who thought they were untouchable, until they weren't. Monica knew the fight was far from over. There were plenty more like them out there, gaming the system, hurting the helpless. But that was fine. Every time one went down, it sent a message, loud and clear. Monica Trenton's story teaches us a profound lesson. Power is not a shield for wrongdoing, and truth, no matter how buried, always finds a way to shine. Monica faced injustice from those who abused their authority, but she didn't back down. Instead, she used her intelligence, patience, and faith in justice to turn the tables. In life, we too may encounter situations where the powerful try to crush the powerless. The lesson here is to never give up. Stay resilient, seek the truth, and stand up for what's right. Justice may be slow, but it's never absent. Thank you for watching this story. Drop a comment below to share your thoughts. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more inspiring stories like this one.